I think this is going to be a short video. It's my idea for a new potential series that I'm tentatively going to call Ridiculous Rigs, in my never-ending quest of trying to find different means of supporting my camera while maintaining a lightweight, compact bag for coming to the theme parks. My newest creation is this. I'm calling it the Baby Clamp. I have taken a small rig clamp from like a Magic Arm and attached it to the Really Right Stuff clamp from my multi-clamp. So this is probably about half the size in my bag of the Really Right Stuff multi-clamp. And I brought it to the park today just because I wanted to try attaching it to different things. I wanted to see what it could fit onto. I wanted to see how stable and how steadily it can hold my camera with my heaviest lens that I'm most likely to use it with. I don't know how often I'm going to use this. I don't know if I'm ever going to use this, but it's an idea that's been in my head for a few months, and I finally just threw it in my bag and I said, I'm going to bring it here just to give it a shot. So let's see how well it works. All right, since I'm over here in Fantasyland, I figured the first thing I would attach it to is these little curly decorative bands around the lamp posts over here, kind of between Small World and the old motorboat boarding area, if you remember that. And it works. I've got it set up for a nice locked off video shot of the Matterhorn, and hopefully I'm going to catch the monorail going in front of it in a minute or two, but it seems relatively solid. Let's take a look. So the clamp has enough room to attach to the metal. It's got a nice long bar here that I can use to really torque this down and get it tight. It's got little rubber protectors on the jaws that are going to keep it from damaging whatever I clamp it to. Oh, look at that. Timed it perfectly. So far, initial results, promising. I mean, does it move? Yeah, but everything's going to move a little bit. If nobody's touching it, if nobody's swinging from this light pole, it's pretty solid. So test one, success. So test number two is this type of railing. You see it in a couple of other areas around Fantasyland. Sometimes it's painted green or brown. Sometimes it has a gold top around Main Street. It's a little bit wider, and this one is too wide for this clamp. This is as wide as the jaws go, and they can't quite fit over the top. And even if they did, I wouldn't be able to tighten it enough. So if you see this, if it's wider than 1.5 inches or so, 1.25 inches, probably not going to have a good time. So about the width of 2 fingers, 2 of my fingers, is about the limit of what can fit in this gap. So I just showed you the one type of railing that you're probably not going to be able to have any success with, but right across the path from it, check this out. So here's the one that doesn't work. Here's one that does. So this again is about the width of 2 fingers. And this is the type of railing you're going to see in most of Disneyland. There's thousands of yards of this probably throughout the park, and it'll all work. So it's nice to know that this is going to be compatible with the most common type of railing you're going to find in Disneyland. So this is the stuff that's all around Main Street. It's all around Fantasyland. So we're going to head over to Tomorrowland now, see what's over there. Then we're going to head over to the west side where everything is kind of more wooden and natural, and see what we can find over there. So moving towards Tomorrowland, this railing, this green railing around the submarine lagoon actually does work. It's just barely wide enough at the top. It looks very similar to that gold painted stuff you see over in Fantasyland. But this one is just barely wide enough by like 1/8 of an inch to get that clamp over it. And then also, if you are finding one of those pieces of railing where the top band is too wide to accept that clamp, try the vertical pieces down below. So this fence around the submarine lagoon, not only can you clamp to the top, you can also clamp to the vertical pieces. They're about 1/2 inch in diameter. And that's one of the things I like about this baby clamp over the Really Right Stuff multi-clamp. The minimum diameter to attach something with that multi-clamp is like 1 inch. So if it's narrower than 1 inch, you're not going to get that multi-clamp around it. This baby clamp can clamp down to things maybe a little smaller than 1/2 inch, and there's a lot of small, narrow diameter stuff around Disneyland, all the vertical pieces of almost every fence is less than an inch. So this might be a really good option. And the nice thing about attaching to those vertical sections of fence, you have a lot more adjustment between high and low. You can get some high angle shots, low angle shots. So that's promising. So this one I'm pretty excited about. These chairs here at the Tomorrowland Terrace near Galactic Grill. The rail on these chairs is just barely big enough for this to work. The nice thing about this is these aren't bolted down, so you can pick one of these up and slide it and move it and adjust it, and you can really kind of put some camera support where you need it within reason. So if you wanted to try to find a cool spot to get locked off shots of fireworks or star trails or stuff involving the monorail, the Matterhorn, Submarine Lagoon, and Autopia at Space Mountain, there's a lot of options around here. Check this out. All these chairs, every single one of these is big enough to attach this baby clamp to. So as predicted, Adventureland and Frontierland are a little sparse when it comes to things that are narrow enough or a small enough diameter to be usable on that clamp. It's mostly bamboo, it's mostly wood and leather. There are a few metal railings here and there. All the railing around Rivers of America works. But in general, you don't have the plethora of options on the west side that you have on the east side of the park and down along Main Street and around the river. The last stop is going to be Galaxy's Edge, because Galaxy's Edge is kind of like Adventureland. There's a lot of rock work that serves as barriers rather than fences. But there are a few things that I think might work. I don't remember where they are. My goal is I'm going to try to find something that I can attach this clamp to that's near the Millennium Falcon. We're going to see what we might be able to do. All right, over here in Galaxy's Edge, I found not one, but two right in front of the Millennium Falcon on the side of Oga's Cantina, the little thing that actually looks like Donald Duck's bill. There are two supports that are about 3/4 of an inch in diameter directly in front of the notch on the Millennium Falcon. The clamp fits that perfectly, so if you want to get a long exposure or a time lapse in front of the Falcon, perfect spot for it. Also, this railing that goes up past the entrance to Smuggler's Run and up by Docking Bay 7, you can attach to it horizontally. You can't attach to it vertically, but there is an attachment point here. So this might work for trying to film or do a long exposure of the fireworks from the Millennium Falcon. I think that's enough running around clamping things to things. I think that gives me a good idea of what works and what doesn't. Does it work? Yeah. For all the things I found that I can attach to, it can attach securely enough to hold the camera steady. So stability is not a problem. The question is that piece of equipment any better or worse than any of the other options that I use? I don't think it's better. It's probably the most limited in terms of what it can attach to. It can only attach to very narrow things. Things like the multi-clamp have a lot more options available, but they're larger. So I think this is a very, very niche specialty case. If I want to bring something to hold the camera steady for whatever reason, and I don't have a lot of room to spare, then I think it's an option. And if I'm already trying to travel very light, travel very compact, or I don't have a lot of room to spare, it's better than nothing. I think I am gonna try bringing it again at some point at night and do some try to do some actual photography with it rather than just kind of testing to see what fits on it. I wanna see how actually usable it is, but this first test was pretty promising. So I'm gonna wrap it up there. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.